Hello, hello. This is Yuri with Moving Sales Professionals Podcast. Let's talk moving. And with me today, I have Chris Steffens, a hospitality professional and a micro LinkedIn influencer known for his GIF responses with over 27,000 followers and over 5 million impressions this year alone. So, Chris, how does your experience connect to the moving industry?
Well, you know what? I worked 10 years at the Microtel Inn by Wyndham and Latham. That is a budget economy hotel with the conveniency of a longer parking spaces for moving trucks. So I had the opportunity to host many moving crews at my hotel, and as well as many other different type of moving crews, because that was a major group that I had to take care of and cultivate and to provide our hospitality services to. So movers, no, I have hosted them, and of course, I over the past few years I've utilized them as my wife and I have relocated interstate 6 times in over 35 years of marriage.
Okay, so what we're going to do today with Chris is something a little different, right? We always talk about the movers' experiences and stuff like that. So with Chris having as many personal moves that he has done, so we're going to dive in a little bit in what the impressions are of the person that has the moving experience from the side of a customer versus a mover. So just to maybe some of us working with on the moving side of things and dealing with troubled customers or whatever whatever the case may be, we often forget necessarily about the experience that the customers themselves go through. And sometimes we need to be reminded that how would we feel if we were in that position? What do we need to do to make sure that our customers, the people that are moving, have a better experience so that they come back to us time and time again? So, Chris, tell
Yes.
us about your experiences with those moves that you had and what was good, what was bad, what was, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Well, most of them have been okay. Uh, we moved from Maryland to Georgia, from Georgia up to Michigan, from Michigan back to Maryland, from Maryland back to Michigan, and then the longest stay was 16 years in Albany, in which it was in the hospitality industry again, because a long time ago when I first started dating my wife, I was as well. For over 10 years as a sales manager at the Microtel Inn, as I previously stated. Now, the thing is, we were given an opportunity to come back to our home state of Maryland, which was very advantageous to us. And we did it because we had a whole bunch of family down here that we wanted to keep an eye on. And that's a story unto itself. And the people who follow me on LinkedIn probably know everything that's going on with me and my family. As I post about that all the time. But getting back to the move, this move back to the home state of Maryland was most important because my wife was in the music industry for a long period of time. And due to that fact, we have accumulated close to about 4,000 CDs. And my wife says, I don't need them. Everything is in the cloud, everything's being streamed. So we had to utilize the service of a moving advisor to help us to coordinate and get the trucks in and the help to get rid of the CDs, and so
Sure.
we didn't have to bring them here. That was a good idea. It cost over $1,000 just for that service loan, not including the trucks that came in and dropped off dumpsters and picked them up, a day or two later full. But it was that service I would recommend for anybody relocating. If you're working on in quoting that, you should bring that under consideration. It would allow you to go through your inventory to make sure that you are releasing things that you really don't want to take. And to be honest with you, it really doesn't worth a hill of beans anymore, like music CDs. So that's what we did. I think we might have about 6 of them, where we used to have about 4,000 of them. So that's how that's going. So there you go. in this move too, it was uh it took a few days to load. I think we had a three person crew. The first person focused on the packing part, especially the kitchen and the dining room items from the chest of drawers and the corner cupboard and all that kind of stuff. And she did a pretty decent job. The guys came through the next day and they did a pretty decent job. Everything went off pretty smoothly. We had to come down here and close on the little house that we're in now. We're in a little villa in comparison to a colonial. So well, a lot of our furniture went with my son, who stayed in New York, and which is great because then we didn't have to worry about moving that. And then finally, we got down here, and the moving truck took another week and a half longer. We had to sit in an empty house basically for about a week and a half before the move, before our stuff finally came. But when it does come, it's like Christmas time because you're there opening boxes and to go, oh my, it's our stuff, and it's great to put it away, get it organized for this now our sixth relocation, probably our final one. All in all, aside from the delay of our moved items, it was
Now,
just
was it really delayed, or were you
it was
like, it's
delayed. Oh,
generally done on a
it,
long distance where they tell you it's going to be,
yeah,
1
well,
to
no,
10
it
or
was
to 2 to 14 business days or whatever the case is?
yeah, it was delayed an extra week or so, so it was a
Okay.
slight inconvenience for us.
So did the company take care of you on that end? What
There
happened?
was some compensation, yes, which was good. But I would rather have them keep the money and us get our stuff on time. It's strange. I'm funny like that.
Yeah. Well, and now for a quick message from our sponsors. For a limited time only, we have partnered with an SEO and marketing company with discounted rates for their services. Schedule an appointment via Calendly link below to learn more. Thank you. And now getting back to the podcast. I think most people would prefer to do it like that, but you got, obviously with how nonchalant Chris is describing this is Chris would be the perfect customer for most of us where, it's going to be a week later. Okay, we'll manage. Just, give us a little bit of money and we'll manage. We're going to be fine. Versus
We
some of
bought
the ones that are saying, I need to have it yesterday.
we had the other
And now for a quick message from our sponsors. If you're a moving business owner, you may have already heard of Moversville, an email marketing service that helps moving companies increase, repeat, and referral business. But have you heard of Moversville Connect? Moversville Connect is an incredible resource for all things moving. They feature an array of vendors and services that cater specifically to the moving industry. You can find companies that provide moving software, moving sales services, marketing services, moving equipment providers, and much, much more. Visit moversville.com to learn more.
had to buy a couple mattresses for a couple of the bedrooms. So we did that, and we bought an additional air mattress. So all three of us had our own separate sleep space, and then we brought in some, dollar store items to cook off of, and everything worked out okay. We went out to dinner a few times, and that was a good way of getting ourselves acclimated to the new area of Havre Grace and across the bridge in Cecil County. To hit a couple of their restaurants, especially the ones that had coupons. So it was great. It was great. I'm glad to be back in my home state of Maryland because we've been here, and unfortunately, I've lost two dear family members within the past 5 months. And it would have been a headache if we were all still up in New York. So I'm glad we were here to support our other family members and to go through the process of grieving as we have been recently.
Sorry to hear that. And of course, obviously we all have to go with,
It happens to every.
downtimes and tribulations and what have you in life. And we're all trying to achieve certain things.
Happens.
On a more positive note, so Chris, how did you get all these followers and impressions? I mean, wow, 27,000 followers on LinkedIn, 5 million impressions. That's a lot. That's great. How did you achieve that? How did you get there?
I am doing what you're doing right now, supplying video content. And that all started back at the Microtel Inn by Wyndham and Latham. I started making videos and for the hotel and promoting them. I'd sing songs. Oh, I got a good voice. People say. So anything to get the attention, a positive intention for the hotel, I would make a video of, throw it up there, promote it on, at that time, Facebook, and then finally more on LinkedIn. And by the time I left town, I had 14,000 followers.
So as we guys, we always talk about this, and I talk to this with majority of people that I bring in this day and age with what we're doing with the industry, you need to come up with something that separates you from your competition. So the stuff that Chris is talking about, while he's not primarily a industry professional per se, the things that he's talking about do relate, because you're talking about creating video content, getting some sort of a buzz, creating something that's going to attract people to your brand, attract people to your company, create something that's going to put you in a position where you're able to do something different, and people are attracted to things like that. They're excited about things that are new and different and exciting and interesting, and maybe weird in some cases, but weird is good too, because you're doing something that's different than your competition. So once again, that brings us back to finding things that are different, finding things that allow you to separate yourself from other places that are out there and create a different kind of vibe that is going to drive people in. So that's extremely important.
Like that old song, let's give them something to talk about.
Right. And hopefully it's something good to talk about. We never want
always try to go
good
positive.
publicity, but I've talked to companies before, and I've had, from the sales side, I've had people say to moving company owners say to me, well, if somebody didn't tell me off today, that means I'm not calling them enough. But to me, as a salesperson, especially owning a call center, that's wrong. That's a completely opposite of what you should want as a moving company owner or anything that's related in sales in general. Why? Because you're not just losing that one person that told you to F off. Okay. You're losing basically people talk. We, as moving company industry professionals, we talked a lot. It's a small world. Everybody knows somebody, and to some degree we're all connected, and that's generally how the world turns anyway, right? It's everybody, what is it, 10 degrees of separation or something like that, right? But in this industry, if a guy is looking to move, right, all his friends know about it, all his family members know about it, his co-workers know about it, and stuff like that, right? So you can go two ways. One way, he may not choose your company, for example, right? But maybe he had a great experience with you, following up and just helping him with advice. Yeah, he didn't choose you at the end of the day because at the end of the day, maybe the numbers just did not fit, or maybe you did not have the availability and he absolutely needed that specific day, right? But what's going to be left is good experience with your company. And maybe there's going to be conversations that will take place that sound something like, okay, so John, how did your move go? Oh, it was okay. They took care of me, but I was talking to this one company also, and they were great. They were really, following up, and they gave me this great advice. And I really wish that I could have went with them, but things just did not work out in that regard. But next time I will use them. He just gave you an endorsement without ever using you or ever using your service or knowing how the guys do the job. And he there's going to be more than one person that's going to ask him about his move, right? So he basically just gave you an endorsement that could turn into, who knows, 5, 10 different potential customers for you, right? Or maybe it's it's something else where he had a bad experience with somebody that he did choose, and now he's going to be like, well, I chose this company and they were horrible, but there were these other guys, and you know what, I really should have paid more and went with them because they were such a breath of fresh air and they were taking care of me. And, despite the fact that they, I didn't choose them, they still were nice, and they were still providing me, giving me advice and things like that. And I really should have listened to them because they told me that this company was not licensed, or they told me that this company had bad ratings, or they told me whatever it was. And, I really should have taken care of it. So you got another promotion for you that was basically, you didn't have to really do anything except in that particular case, provide good customer service, right?
The old
And
I could have had a V8 syndrome. I could have gone with you guys. Why did I do that?
right, exactly. And then the other way, the other flip of the coin, imagine you're doing the other thing. You're bugging the crap out of him, instead of like the guy already gave you an inventory, he's considering you, but you're calling him every single day. Look, we're salespeople. Ultimately, here at Moving Sales Professionals, we talk to people a lot, right? So us having the knowledge that we have in sales, we have that unique sense where we can start hearing that annoyance in a person's voice. And frankly, the moment you start hearing that, you need to lay off a little bit. Because if you call that person again next day, you're going to lose them. But if you give them an extra day or two before you do call them back, keep in mind that this is a person that you've spent time with, that you've built a rapport with, that you've done an inventory with, you know everything there is to know about their move, as far as you know anyway, right? So over bugging is not going to help you. Now, you certainly need to be assertive. You certainly need to call. You certainly need to, be borderline, right? But you never want to cross the line and become abusive. That's where you're going to, not only are you going to lose that customer and get an F off, now those same conversations are going to happen regardless. And instead of saying a good thing about you, where you could potentially gain customers without ever moving them, you're going to get the opposite, where the person says, yeah, I moved, I moved, it was okay, went fine. But man, there was this one company that would just stalk me and would not stop. And I told, me, I'm a peaceful guy, and I had to went to the point where I actually had to cuss them out just to get them to stop contacting me. Do you really want that kind of publicity?
Yeah.
Because now you didn't get his business.
Yep.
You're not going to get him again.
Yep.
And you're not going to get any person that he's going to talk to, period. So you could have potentially lost 5-10 moves that you could have booked otherwise. And this is, if this is how you operate, think of how many jobs you're missing every single month, every single year. There's all this business and there's all this potential money for you as the company owner, money for your workers, jobs for your workers, job security for your workers that's being left on the table because you think that that you just need to overbear. No, there's a fine line. And it's also that same fine line that it's okay not to book certain customers. It's perfectly okay. There's like, you haven't even, it's the same thing with workers for that matter. Look, we had this kid that was training, and he was talking about how excited he was about the job and everything else. And then basically he was supposed to come in, and he didn't come in. And then he's like, oh, I have to deal with this, and this. We're owners. We don't care about excuses. We want somebody working that we can rely on. So if you're like that and you have barely walked into our space, what are you going to be like if something happens where we really need you, where we really need to rely on you? So it's the same thing as bringing on another job. I haven't even got all the information about your move yet, and you're already giving me negativity, and you're already giving me attitude about things I haven't even really had a chance to go through with you. And the move is not even scheduled. What do you think is going to happen on the day of the move? God forbid something gets scratched. God forbid something happens. You don't want those customers. Like, it's okay. It's okay to let it go. We sometimes we feel like we have to grab everything that comes our way, but peace of mind or huge headache, which do you want? Do you want the customer that's going to refer customers to you? Do you want somebody that's going to be that referral, or you want somebody that's going to be the negative thing that's going to write over every single website that's available to them? In this day and age, things that we do are so important. Our visibility is important. Any kind of a bad connotation that's out there about your company, you want to stay away from it. We try to do things the right way, here at Moving Sales Professionals, or in life in general. It's like we're living in a world where we all become very public figures, whether we realize it or not, because with internet age and everything that we have access to, you can find out things that you never found out before. I mean, I hate to go negative, but just to compare, we all know about the war that's taking place in Ukraine right now. right? Obviously, I made no secret about where my allegiance in that conflict lies. I'm from Ukraine. I support Ukraine, and I'm 100% against what's going on in that region. But here's a similar situation. I don't know how many of you knew, but similar conflict took place between Russia and Georgia all those years ago, except they did not have the internet age that they have today. They did not have every single person on the ground with a cell phone that can take a picture, that can put a video, and have it be on the World Wide Web within seconds. The fact that we know what's going on is attributed more so to the current age where, frankly, every single Ukrainian, or majority of them, have a cell phone. That's not old school, that the smartphone that allows them to take pictures and post things online, and information gets out, and the whole world sees the atrocities and things that happen. They didn't have that in Georgia. So yeah, it's not the most positive example, but that's the reality of what different age we're living in, and how much of this information out there and how quickly it gets out. So we want to make sure we build things the right way. I talk about the brand. You as moving company owners, you want to care about the brand, and you want to make sure that things are produced the right way. But getting back to that, Chris, once again, thank you very much for joining us for this podcast, for letting us dive on a slightly different side of things here for a second. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And as I always say, the world moves on its own, so let the professionals move yours for you. Thank you for joining our podcast.
One last thing.
Yes, the last word from Chris.
I found you on LinkedIn.
Yes, sir.
From that 14,000 to 27,000, I've been using LinkedIn Navigator. So from a sales standpoint and a follower standpoint, it is an excellent tool. So that's number one. And also, I found out the fact that you are looking for people to join your organization.
Absolutely, we are all the time. We want sales professionals.
And I see you the day after tomorrow.
Yes, sir. We will see you here. Thank you for your time, Chris.
Joining Moving Sales Professionals. I'll be joining Yuriy. I look forward to working with you there. And thank you very, very much.
Thank you for joining us for the podcast, and we'll see you in the office soon. Thank you very much. And of course, any of you moving company owners, if you're interested in checking out Chris, you'll find his information on LinkedIn, Chris Steffens.
I'll be posting.
Yep, he'll be posting. And then, of course, you can always access our podcasts, and we're always available if you're interested in the services that we provide, or you want a little simply somebody that's new in the industry is looking for advice. I'm here for you. I'm always willing to help. I'm always trying to give back. Thank you for taking your time, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.